From PvP to PvE, Artefacts show that you're one of the best players in the game. In this video, I'll show you how to easily get all the artifacts on Ragnarok. Hello Dodo crew and welcome back to another video on Ark Survival Ascended. Grab a bottle of water and let's get straight into it. I will start with the easy artifacts, which you can simply grab and then slowly progress to the harder ones, which you need some preparation for. The Wyvern caverns are probably the easiest cave in the game. There is not much loot, but there is the artifact of the strong. Once you arrive at the cave, fly in a straight line through the cave until you see this arch. In this cave there are no traps, lava or anything dangerous, except some wyvern. Keep going to the back of the cave, where it seems to be a dead end. Turn right and there is a small ruin. Once you have reached the ruin, you should already hear the artifact. The artifact of the strong is located directly behind these walls. On a side note, as of I'm editing this, I'm at about 5k subs. If you could sub to help me reaching my goal of 10k subs by the end of the year, I would greatly appreciate it. Still very easy to get, although a little bit more difficult than the Wyvern cavern, the artifact of the Devourer in the Tuso trench. As soon as you arrive at the trench, you have to swim straight down until you see this rock. It's best to use a fast swimmer like an Angler, Ichti or a Plesio to escape the Tusos. Keep swimming until you reach the bottom and see the glowing green plant. At this point, with the right graphic settings, you should already see the artifact at the bottom of the trench glowing purple. But be careful, in this region easily 4 to 5 Tusos will spawn at the same time and want to eat you. For everyone who wants to have my turret towers, FOBs, bases and traps, I have now set up a separate area for YouTube members on my Discord where you can easily download all my builds and insert them into your game by using the template tool. You will need a little preparation for the medium artifacts. The caves are significantly larger than those in the easy section and have different challenges to get to the artifact. The easiest of the 3 middle caves is the jungle dungeon or the lava golem cave. You can easily find one of the entrances in the jungle by looking for this waterfall and then taking the entrance to the left of it. In this cave, you will for sure need some good armor, a pyromane against the heat, grappling hooks, parachutes and mad brews. The advantage of this artifact is that you get the artifact before you have to kill the lava golem mini-boss. This means you can easily leave the cave with the artifact without any problems or fights. The cave is pretty much straightforward. In the first part, you have to make sure that you get down to the bottom, take the stairs and look for the large spider web that you have to crawl through. After that, you have to do relatively simple jump puzzles, or you can simply skip them and use your grappling hook to get over the lava. The only thing that you have to watch out for in the puzzle is that there are always bridges between them. These bridges have holes in them that you can easily fall through, so it's best not to use the bridges themselves, but to walk over the ropes that hold the bridges. Be careful with the lava, it is insta-death. You will find the hunter's artifact in the middle of a lava lake before you enter the lava golem arena. This cave is filled with araneo, onyx and centipedes, so it makes sense to bring lesser antidote and a few extra sets of armor in addition to the cave kit with you. Getting the artifact of the pack is a little more difficult. You can find it in the ice cave or ice worm cave in the north of the map. The easiest access is the hole in the glacier of the mountain. When you're in the cave, simply look for the small waterfall and take the path behind it. For this cave, it's best to take good fur armor with you, as the cave is one of the coldest places in the entire game. You also need a good shield, a good pump gun and some mad brews. You can forget about grappling hooks, they don't work in this cave. All in all, the path is much easier than it looks. In the beginning, you have to go through a hole that you have to reach via a bridge. Simply take the bridge and jump over the structures on the wall into the arch and you're through this chamber. At all other crossings, simply take the most left path until you reach the chamber with a waterfall. In this chamber, take the path in the center that takes you past the waterfall. Once you have reached this large waterfall, you have already made it through the cave. Now only the Ice Worm Queen stands in your way. You can only get the artifact once you have defeated the mini-boss in this arena. Once the Ice Worm Queen has been defeated, simply run to the end of the arena. There, you will see a path into the Ice Worm Queen's breeding chamber, where you can simply loot the artifact next to the Dying Giga. If you want to know how to farm lots of good loot on Ragnarok, then check out the linked video. The most difficult or most complex cave in this section is the Carnivorous Caverns. In return, you get not one, but 2 artifacts in this area, which you can simply take from the ground if you know where they are and how to find them. The cave itself has several entrances on land and underwater, but the easiest is the one in the castle ruins. There, you can simply walk into the cellar and after a short dive, you're already in the cave. It's best to take a normal cave kit with you into the cave, which consists of grappling hooks, parachutes, food, weapons, sleeping bags, and so on, so that you can hold out for a long time. You can also easily take creatures like pyromanes into that cave with you, which makes it a lot easier. The entrance that can be found in the ruins of the old castle is located around 20 and 40.4 and can be entered through the wine cellar. The artifact of the Cunning lies around surrounded by light crystals in a small room above a side passage that can only be reached with a grappling hook or a climbing pick. You can find the area quite easily by looking for the white crystals on the ceiling and then searching for a small hole in which you can see small green mushrooms. If you have trouble finding the artifact, set a waypoint at 20.3 and 46 and try to get to these coordinates in the cave. The artifact of the immune is located in a large room near the bioluminescent cavern and can be found at 23.7 and 44.6. In this cave there are a lot of strong creatures like Megalosaurus, Carcanos, Megalania and all kinds of bugs. So equip yourself well before you go into this cave and mark one of the exits, as these are sometimes pretty hard to find. If you want to know how you can easily farm blueprints, loot, weapons and gear on Ragnarok, then watch the linked video. The last of the artifact caves is Life's Labyrinth, and this is the most difficult cave on the entire map. There are 4 artifacts to find in this cave, but unfortunately you can only take 3 artifacts per run with you. In this cave you can find the artifact of the Devious, Massive, Skylord and Clever. The entrance to the dungeon can be found at an old temple ruin in the north of the desert and can only be entered by players and small creatures. To get through the cave, you need a good cave kit with strong weapons, armor and med brews, several scuba kits, sleeping bags and food. And ideally you should also have already tried out a few of the skills in the new skill tree and equip the active ability Spirit Rush. You also need a light pad that you don't particularly care for, because no matter how good you are, it won't survive the cave. In the labyrinth you will have to complete various minigames and puzzles to get to the next room. In this part we'll go through the maze room by room, and I'll explain what you need to do and the easiest way to solve it. The first room you come to is the button room. In the center of this room is a sculpture of a ship, and this is important for us because the path to the next room is underneath it. If you look around, you will see that there are buttons on the wall all over the room. You now have to use these buttons to write the word Drakkar to get to the next room. There are stairs on the left and right that take you to the lower part where there are more letters. In the lower part you will find the first part, the Drakk, where the R is behind a wall, which you can open with this button. Most of the car part is in the buttons above, but it doesn't matter which buttons you use as long as you get the word right at the end. If the word is spelled correctly, the ship will move to the side and the path to the next puzzle will open. Swim to the corridor and walk along it. You'll come to a dead end, but once you're close enough, the door will open. Attention, do not run straight into that room. The large statue at the back of the room will spit fire at you if you don't crouch. To avoid triggering the fire, you must crouch or be prone, and you must not touch any uneven ground. It is pretty bad if several players enter this room at the same time. If one player makes a mistake, the whole team gets burned. There are 3 buttons in this room that must be pressed in the correct order to open the 2 doors at the back of this section. The first button you need to press is directly at the left on the back wall as you enter the room. The second button is the one on the right side of the room near the right exit. And the last button is located directly under the statue sticking out of a pile of rubble. If you press them in the right order, both doors will open and you can go into the next room. In this next part, the video is divided into two parts. The first chapter deals with the route if you take the right hand door, and the second chapter deals with the route if you take the left hand door. First, we talk about the right hand door. Once the right door has been selected, the next step is a jumping puzzle. To continue, players must press the button on the right to raise the wall. Players must make their way through the puzzle. Be prepared to fall a lot and climb up a fallen pillar to get back to the beginning of the room. As it is quite dark, the use of a light source is highly recommended. At the end of the puzzle is a door. With a button, click the button and the door will open. In the next room, there is a statue. Don't run straight into that room, but crouch down and watch where you step. The statue works like the last one and spits fire when it sees you. However, there are now pressure plates on the floor that trigger when you step on them. These then release spiders into the room, which can also trigger the statue, so watch out where you step. Sneak past the statue, and if you want, you can even carefully loot the loot beacon that the statue is holding. On the left side next to the door is the button to go into the next room. In this room there is a loot crate in the center of the map, and attention, do not run and loot it. The loot crate is trapped with arrows that shoot at the player if they get too close, but can be opened very slowly approaching it. There are a total of 4 buttons on the left and right side of the room, which must be pressed in the following order. When you click the button, you have to be careful, as there are pressure plates all over the floor that trigger as soon as you step on them. Sometimes the door doesn't open, and I honestly don't know why, but if that happens, then all the buttons have to be clicked again, and then they should open. The maze itself is probably the worst part of the whole Life's Labyrinth, and really takes a good amount of practice, as it is really hard to solve. As it is pretty much impossible to explain in which order the buttons have to be clicked, I will now play the clip twice. Once at the original speed, so you can see how fast everything has to be done, as it is a time section, and if you're too slow, you have to start from the beginning. And a second time, much slower, so you can see exactly when you have to click which button. Once you have reached the finish, drop down into the hole to reach the corridor. At the end of this corridor, you will find the artifact of the Clever and can take it with you. Follow this corridor, take care to not fall into the trench until you reach the next area. The next room is now the sacrifice room, but as this is also the end of the left path, we need to discuss the left part here first. If you want to continue directly with the sacrifice room, use this timestamp and skip to the next part. Once you have chosen the left door, you will come to the path to the artifact of the Skylord. After the gate, you will come to a hole in the ground that leads into a water tunnel. Before you enter this tunnel, make sure your light pad has enough oxygen and that your scuba gear is equipped, including fins that you can use. Although it is possible to swim through this part without a scuba tank, it is highly recommended to use one or to bring Lazarus chowder. There are a lot of megalodons to watch out for in this area, so be careful. Look for the bridge underwater. On the lower side, there is a small hole into which you have to enter. The next room is a labyrinth, in which you have to click multiple buttons to open the door to the next room. There is an area in each corner, which is blocked by a door that can be opened with the buttons in the center. If you now click all 4 buttons in the center, the gates will open one after the other. Behind each of these gates are creatures, traps and a button. You have to click all 4 buttons for the next gate to open. When you're through the first gate, you have to do the whole process all over again. In this room, the creatures are a bit stronger, there are more traps, and you have to click all the buttons again. You will then come to a small room in which there are 4 buttons on the torch in the center. After you have clicked the buttons, a corridor will open through which you have to run. Put on your scuba and jump into the small hole at the end of the corridor. In the next room, there is a Spino that you can simply kill with a pump gun. Now, you have to get to a jump puzzle, but the path is blocked off by a gate underwater. If you dive, you will find statues in the 4 corners of the room that have a button on the base. Click all 4 buttons starting at the destroyed statue and then going clockwise to open the gate to the jump puzzle. The jump puzzle is relatively easy. Here you simply have to find the way up and then through the gate at the end of the room. The Catwalk Room consists of several rooms in a row that are only connected by catwalks. The problem is that the floor is lava and when you touch it, it is insta-death. At the start of each catwalk, click the button on the wall or on the pillar in front of you and then run across the catwalk to the end of the room. There are a total of 3 of these rooms, each of which becomes more difficult and the catwalk becomes narrower, and at the same time there are more difficult jump passages. When you have completed them all, you will return to the sacrifice room and from there on the left and the right paths will meet up and continue together. If you choose to sacrifice a creature, the left door will open. Ahead lies a dark tunnel and you will need a light source. A torch or aberrant shoulder pad will do the trick, as adjusting your gamma setting won't help much in this region. Be careful where you step. Avoid the stone plates, as there are pressure plates that will summon Onyx to attack you. If instead you sacrifice a human player, the right door will open. Beyond it, you will face closing moving walls with 2 red loot crates placed in the middle. You'll see a sign telling you to walk slowly. Don't believe it. The sign is a trap. You need to sprint through the tunnel before the walls collapse and trap you inside. Just be sure to stop briefly between the moving section to grab the red loot crate. No matter which path you choose, both routes will eventually lead you to the Oasis. At the far end, you will see a glowing barrier guarding the artifact of the Devious and the artifact of the Massive. To disable this barrier, you must defeat the dungeon's bosses, the Spirit Direbear and the Spirit Wolf. If they aren't already spawned, you'll need to provoke them. Attack the Megaloceros, and the spirits will appear. Once the bosses are summoned, they'll arrive in pairs and in waves, starting at level 50, increasing by 50 levels each wave and capping at level 250. At that level, a Spirit Direbear can deal a ton of damage to lightly armored targets. After the final spirits fall, a message will appear. The spirits have calmed. The barrier will drop and you'll be able to loot both artifacts. To leave the dungeon, head to the larger water gate at the back of the room. The passage is extremely low, so you'll need to crawl to get through. As soon as you're out of the passage, you're getting out of the cave somewhere between two rocks. I hope you liked this video, and I'm thrilled to read if this video has helped you. Hit the like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and consider subbing to the channel. Alright? Frodo.